Thank you very much for Michael and Jane and friends who came here. Recently. The primary thing I always felt is that India has one of the latest constitutions. 1950 we ratified our constitution. And we have a constitution which was literally drafted by some wise people with a lot of international constitution along their side, like the American Constitution, the British Constitution, the French Constitution, all around, and choose carefully what's right and what's wrong, what's good for a civilized society, what's better for a modern world, and we have a wonderful document that is a constitution. It starts with the preamble that it's submitted to the nation. We, the people of India, solemnly resolve to constitute India as a secular democratic republic. That's how it starts. We have, along with fundamental duties, fundamental rights, which are guaranteed in the Constitution that it cannot be amended. That's the only part. We have a very flexible Constitution. But fundamental rights cannot be changed. That's another fundamental right. That's the only thing that cannot be changed. Every other thing can be changed. So any constitutional provision or article, or any law in India, any court verdict in India, stands null and void if it violates fundamental rights. Such a wonderful document. And in the fundamental rights is guaranteed to have freedom of speech, belief, faith, worship, everything. On the other side, we have fundamental duties. Added later, of course, it says that every Indian citizen has a duty to promote scientific temper, which only means public understanding of science, a terminology used by Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, who was a evolved, modern person. We call him a rationalist himself, a scientific temper person, and spirit of inquiry, reform, humanism. This is part of the fundamental duty of all Indian citizens. With such a document in our hands, what all we can achieve? But on the other side, there is another India, which has archaic penal law. Indian Penal Code has been drafted in 1860, immediately after the takeover of the British authorities in 1857. There was no history of any conflict between Hindus or Muslims at the time. But these laws are based on the ethical and value system of those times, which is absurd in a contemporary situation. Many of them are changed, of course, when it is challenged along with the Constitution. Some certainly did not change, includes the blasphemy law. In Britain it has gone. They have changed it, removed it. But in India and Pakistan it remains. Pakistan with the death penalty, and of course in India with 3 years rigorous imprisonment and fine for both. So there are so many other laws, but this particular law is equated with two other things: the murder, treason, and blasphemy. These are the 3 items in Indian Penal Code which are cognizable, which means you can be arrested without an arrest warrant. So somebody makes a complaint, and if you are suspected to have done this crime, you can just be arrested without an arrest warrant. And it's not bailable. You are not guaranteed to bail unless and until the court specifically says that, okay, this person can get a bail. It's very rare. So the normal legal remedy, as advised by topmost lawyers in the country, whom I have considered when it came against me, was one could go for an anticipatory bail, expecting that an arrest is imminent. I submit myself to a court of law and say that I am willing to be, I'm tried for, so please give me a bail, I don't want to be arrested. And what was the crime I did? If that was a crime that I will do it for the last 30 years, almost every day. I've been explaining this. I've been speaking about bringing science to the common man. It is my fundamental duty. And I've been going to villages and villages from my student time to talk to the common man in roadshows. I have a wonderful profession. I've been a university teacher, I've been an editor. All the same, I found time to make a team of youngsters along with me to travel around in the villages. In 1995, I brought 1,000 villages personally, along with a team of people. Talked to people directly about their superstitions, spoke about science, understanding of science, the values of secularism, separation of state and religion. All these things we directly talk to people in a language that's so convincing that not in a single place there was a question of violence. We have it in front of temples, in front of mosques, everywhere. Channel 4 of Britain came all the way to India, hearing about this to travel with us. They made a 3-episode documentary about it. The Guru Busters, you can see it free of cost on the internet. And if that was a crime, I would do it at that time also. Now, 1995 period is over. Now it's television times. We have moved on to television. Last 4 years, instead of going from village to village, which has been, of course, given the younger generation of the nationalist movement to continue the same spirit, we have trained thousands and thousands of youngsters to continue what I've been doing there. Every year, the National Science Centre gives me a forum as a resource person to train youngsters to study science behind miracles. India, they have a lot. We have several thousands of holy men believe on the miracles, starting from Sati Sai Baba, one of the holy men in India, who had enormous clout to the extent that the President of India was his disciple. And the Prime Minister of India simultaneously was his disciple. And the Chief Justice of Indian Supreme Court was his disciple. And the Speaker of Indian Parliament was his disciple. The top businessman, the first 4 people have been his disciples. And Indian pop stars, the cricketer, players have been his disciples. So, on his birthday, the President, the Prime Minister, the Speaker, the Chief Justice, the cricket stars and the businessmen were there. That kind of a situation we have to one side. And on the other side, on the same day, I could appear on another national channel telling that it's a fraudster. And I could replicate whatever little tricks that he had been doing to impress these people by moving his cat and producing holy ash, which I've tried to do. Hundreds of youngsters do that, hundreds and hundreds everywhere, including in the college where Sati Sai Baba Humanists. They were actually a student movement there, which I've started long back when I was a student. But this situation has given an opportunity for the Indian public to have freedom of choice. When in Indian televisions, I've been appearing, or my colleagues were appearing, on average, I used to appear 200 times on Indian televisions per year, last 4 years. Me talking to millions of people directly. And every time, when there's a holy man or an astrologer or a defender of a miracle or a defender of blind belief of fundamentalism appears, I could be arguing with him so powerfully that the television ratings have really gone up when I appeared on television. Not because they loved me that I've been invaded like this, because the ratings were really up because we spoke so powerfully, hitting their nose with words correctly. And it was effective. And of course, perhaps this is the reason that they wanted me to stop this. One of the miracles that I explained recently was the Mumbai miracle, which has been there well known. Like in many other places, where statues would cry or move or weep or all these type of things. In Mumbai, there was a crucifix. From the feet, water started trickling down. Channels and newspapers said there's a great miracle. People started crowding there. The local church immediately organized prayer meetings in front of the crucifix. I was in Mumbai, I mean, the happening was in Mumbai, I was in a Delhi studio in a window in the television. I said, this is absurd. A statue cannot release water unless there is a water source. It's common sense. I know how individuals would release water as tears, as urination, as sweating, in so many different ways. But the statue of crucifix releases water from the feet. I do not know this phenomenon. It does not happen unless there is water source. They said, don't you believe in empirical evidences? Do you have empirical evidences to tell that this is not a miracle? Come and verify it. Silly way. But I did go to Mumbai because I didn't want to be to know so that I avoided an actual verification. When I went there was a prayer going on. The water collected from the feet had been distributed to people by the assistant of the priest. Not to me also. Everybody got a little bit in a spoon. It was poured on the palm so that you could lick. Brought to me and I did. I asked for a sample of it. To be sent for chemical analysis. They refused to do it. And of course, after the whole program, the prayer program, with the television crew along with me, I sought permission after I offered to verify it. I found very interesting, the backside of this crucifix was the wall and it was wet. And alongside there was another wall which is taller than this statue, was also wet. I went behind and found that there is water presence of the wall everywhere and algae was already there. It was there for some time. Where is water coming from? There is nothing at the top. When the statue stands isolated, looks miraculous for some people, of course, you can understand that. I found it too insignificant. There was a water tank which was leaking. Water was permanently going down to the drain. They located the line of the drain. They found that it goes alongside the wall and it goes underneath that to be connected to the drainage system outside, which is going under the statue. And there was a flat stone cover for this thing. I opened it. It was stinky water. Quite a lot. Clouds water there, standing there. And suddenly I understood what was the mechanism. When water is not allowed to go further forward, it looks for small pores to tangle. It's not a scapular reaction. A small scientific principle which we study in class of 4. We went outside and I verified the crucifix. And there's a nail connected to the feet and the crucifix, which is true, it is open. And that's there. It was wet. And above that it was not wet. And down on the feet, water was still dripping. So it was so clear for me. I took photographs, drawn the chart of the whole thing. I refused to give any comments there. I still wanted to study it properly and understand it and speak it in television. Even when I spoke, representatives of the church came there. I explained the miracle properly and the miracle ended, of course. On that day when I went there, there were 1,000 people. And next day, nobody turned up. Not a single person. Because I so effectively and convincingly explained it. And 5 representatives just argued with me so vehemently, the violence mode. And one of the best tools to counter such things that I know is laughing. I just laughed. They explained that it's not a good. And they wanted me to apologize because I've offended their religious beliefs. I said, I didn't offend. I would not mind. That's another thing. Because telling truth is offending somebody, I would not mind it. But I don't have a malicious intention to hurt anybody's sentiments. That's not what my atheism is. My atheism is common sense, tolerance. And I believe in freedom of faith and worship of other people. Because I want the same right for myself. And I believe I can represent a modern civilized world where freedom is guaranteed for everybody. Which I would like to have myself, which I would like to offer for other people. But, of course, the Bishop of Mumbai wanted to lead the discussion, join the discussion. He said very interesting things. Number 1, it need not be a miracle, but a miracle will happen. And I said, yes, that's what I call miracle mongering. You have been attributing miracles to a lot of people, 10,000 of the saints. Each one, you have attributed at least 2 miracles, that's why they became holy men. Mother Teresa, for example, was not because of her work that became a saint, but because a lady named Monica was putting a photograph of her on the stomach, prayed, and the tumor has vanished. No matter that she has actually gone to a hospital to remove it surgically sometime back. Well, that's the story at one side, and I said it's not a miracle, and there is no miracle normally happening. And there's a tendency in the church to promote superstition, including exorcism, which the Pope himself has been part of. He has reported. Bishops are here insulting my religion. We have been promoting science. I could again, now only, I said I would counter by bringing out two witnesses from history. I would invoke them to defend me. They would be Gennaro Bruno and David Donnelly. It was a very interesting discussion. At the end of the discussion, the representative of the church officially said on the television that you should apologize now here, otherwise you will face dire consequences. You will not see sunlight again. You will see to it that you will be imprisoned. I said, this is India, this is not medieval Europe. We don't want to come bring in medieval Europe here. But it was untrue. 17 complaints were filed against me the next day. Of which 3 were taken into court. I still didn't think that it would be seriously taken. But police started calling me to come to Mumbai. There were discussions in their books that this guy has laughed so provokingly, and the bishop felt so bad. Therefore, we should get some co-prisoner to stab him to death the same night, look after him, and so on. This kind of discussion started. And some policemen were really, after the media started supporting me, televisions repeated this program, other televisions. They said that if it's blasphemy, we repeat it. Our channel repeated it. I've been invited to speak about it. I spoke repeatedly to the channels at least. But the legal remedies I sought for also. I went to the Delhi High Court, asked for an anticipatory bail. It is already legal remedy. Otherwise, I would be simply taken to police custody. I would remain there without a trial, at least for 3 years, because that's the maximum punishment I would get. Then I have only one remedy telling that if I am convicted, I will get 3 years here. I have gone to 3 years, please release me. That's another way of releasing, which I don't want. If we survive 3 years in jail, they would eliminate me, I was sure. And the Delhi High Court refused to give me an anticipatory bail. A battery of lawyers were flown in from Mumbai to Delhi to support the prosecutors by the judge. They said I should go to Mumbai because the moment an anticipatory bail is denied, I can just be arrested. I went to Mumbai High Court, and where also I was told, go to lower court first. Or not on the merit of things, but on technical grounds. There are precedents that such bails are given. And I'm a well-known public person in India, and if that was the fate of me, things would be different for common people like me. And when the anticipated bail application was rejected in Mumbai, I decided to move out of the country, to go through the legal process, to get an anticipated bail, and to really address the issue at a court of law in India, to see the bishop coming to the witness court and speaking. I would like to address this issue in Indian courts and in Indian media, to see to it that this blasphemy law has to go from India, because it's archaic, primitive, inhuman, and violating freedom of speech and misutilized of the way. This law has to go, not only in India, not only in Pakistan, but elsewhere in the world, because that's not tenable to common sense, that's not tenable to a civilized world. So I'm in Europe at this moment for the last 4.5 months. My anticipatory bail is still not taken up properly. It's in the process going on at one side. And the police is already at my home to arrest me. The kind of witch hunting is going on. But of course, rationalists are fighting back in India. Media is supporting me. The entire media is supporting me. There are articles and articles in the press supporting me. The international media comes to my support. But the Indian system does not seem to be hearing all these things. Therefore, I thought I should seek moral support from elsewhere in the world and make a hole in the wrong claim that India makes, that it's a modern secular state. Of course, public opinion is heard in India. It's India is sensitive to such opinions. World opinion is seriously taken there because India wants to become a model 21st century country, wants to become a big nation in the coming years. And that's where I'm afraid of. When India becomes with this growth rate growing up, if that country is controlled by the Hollywood and electric men and astrologers and miracle mongers, that will be detrimental to the world. So we have to correct India. We have to make India a civilized world. That's the effort. That I want to support. Thank you.
Kind of three areas: Ireland, Sanal's particular case in India, and the overall issue of secularism in an interconnected world. So we'd be happy to hear either questions or comments or observations from anybody. If you want to.
Can I ask a question in general? When you interact with the government or with civil service, how do they treat Ireland?
Well,
you get the feeling that they welcome your input or that they wish you just go away?
I think it's changing. I'll just repeat the comment for the recording to say that the question is how did the government and civil service treat us? I think it's changing. We've only been around really for 4 years as an organisation, and I think it takes about that amount of time to become established as part of the discourse and to be seen as an organisation that is a permanent part of the discourse rather than just something that's starting and vanishing. So initially we found that we were being dismissed almost as cranks. But when we initially campaigned against the blasphemy law, and the day that it became law, we published 25 blasphemous quotes on our website to challenge it, on the basis that either it will be implemented, in which case we would challenge it on constitutional grounds, or it wouldn't be implemented, in which case it strengthens the case politically for repealing the law. The Department of Justice issued a statement referring to me as some crackpot in an attic somewhere. As their response, saying that they don't need to listen to some crackpot in an attic. Which, by the way, as a slight aside, if any of you choose to follow my Twitter feed, my location is an attic somewhere. So that's where that comes from. And we contacted the department quite seriously about that, and we said, you wouldn't dream of referring to a representative of a religious organisation as some crackpot in an attic if they made a valid comment about public policy. It's not the role of government to try to make fun of advocacy groups that are making serious political points, albeit in a satirical manner in that case, but are still making serious political points about public policy. And we have found over the years that the government has started to take us more seriously than they did at that stage. We have had a number of briefings at Leinster House with politicians on secular issues, most recently last week with Sanal, at which we would discuss both our campaigns here and international issues. With another one where we brought over Professor David Nash from Oxford Brookes University, who is an expert in blasphemy laws internationally. And we have had a meeting with the Department of the Taoiseach as part of the overall dialogue process that Bertie Ahern started a few years ago between the government and religious organisations. And we were pointing out that Atheist Ireland had not been included in that dialogue process, and so we haven't. But what we found is we're certainly taken quite seriously at international level, and our submissions to various regulatory bodies have been praised as being very comprehensive and really getting to points that the Irish government, would rather not be raised internationally.
Michael, do you have any plans to force this issue home to domestic? I know internationally Atheist Ireland is pretty well seen and read about what happened in Köln and whatever, but to get the message across to the people here in Ireland, and we seem to be falling on very deaf ears at times, or being blocked up by the, as you just said, they're blocked up by the church and their representatives who are in political office at the moment.
Yeah, I think there are two things there, Joe. One is to recognise that we can be optimistic in the sense that these type of issues, when we were campaigning on them 20, 30 years ago, were really about trying to change public opinion. And I think now we are in a more secular, pluralist society, and it's a case of trying to get the government to catch up and to change the laws and enable the changing of the constitution to reflect the new Ireland that we're in. However, there is a strong fight back, as has been seen recently on the case of the death of Savita in particular. Some of the response to that from the supposedly pro-life organisations are frankly reprehensible. But I think what you do in campaigning, and I'll use an analogy, which of another sort of long-term campaign that I used to be involved in years ago, which was campaigning against the IRA and loyalist paramilitaries in Northern Ireland. And when we were involved in those campaigns, we had two things that are kind of similar. One is the sort of feeling that it'll never end. You know, in Northern Ireland, the context was they're all mad up there; they'll just go on forever, and and that there's no point in getting involved. And there was also what we at the time thought was a feeling of ambivalence and almost apathy in the Republic to the killings that were happening in Northern Ireland. But as we got involved in campaigning on that, and in the same kind of gradual but sustained way as we're trying to do now on this issue, we found a couple of things. One was we found that the feeling of what we had interpreted as ambivalence and apathy was really kind of masking just a feeling of helplessness and a feeling that people felt, well, we want to see change, but there's nothing we can do about it. And gradually, as people were getting involved in advocacy and campaigns that hadn't happened before then, certainly in the Republic, it had happened in Northern Ireland, peace people and so on. We found that what started off with literally with a picket of 5 of us outside Sinn Féin Ordesh one year, gradually grew into hundreds and thousands of people joining in the public manifestations of the campaigns. And so I think with political campaigns like this, you can't control when things will happen. Things will happen for other reasons. Something will happen that will trigger off people deciding to get involved. But whenever that something else happens, all of the sort of slow, gradual work that you've been doing becomes retrospectively useful.
Yeah, sure.
So I think our priority really is to just keep going at a kind of steady pace. We need the next stage that next step we need to take now is to set up local groups around the country. And Joe is going to be coordinating the sort of activities of a Cork Atheist Ireland group that we hope to have active on an ongoing basis in Cork. So hopefully from now on or from whenever we get it up and done, it won't be me that you'll be hearing from or Jane. It'll be Cork people who are campaigning in Cork on these issues and who are lobbying Cork politicians and monitoring the Cork media. And organising local events in Cork, which could be either political events or just social events. So that's more or less where we are. I think I think we're on the right track, and we just need to keep building on a sort of cumulative basis.
I was just wondering back to the point as well that Sanal made there, and that was about Prime Minister of India, the various ministers, the Attorney General, whatever, they had this guru whispering in his ear, and influencing his decisions. And most people in the room, all the people in the room, I'd take for granted, all people in the room think that's, slightly crazy. And you'd say that then to people outside as well, who, go to church regularly here and say, that's crazy, they've got a guru whispering in Prime Minister's ear. But if you turn, you kind of turn the searchlight back onto these people and see who's whispering in the likes of some ministers gave each other whatever, and elected representatives who are whispering in their ears. And I don't think there's enough emphasis put on that to actually see these these institutions and the influence that they have on our elected representatives from today, and I'm not talking about 20 years ago, 30 years ago, the people who are in Leinster House. The way it's